Now, even though this is a part 2, I assume no one watched the first episode because it was incredibly boring, so I'm just going to explain the premise of this challenge again real quick. Long and short of it, this is a solo challenge run in Pokemon Emerald, except we're not using Pokemon, we're using other characters. Last episode we used a goat, and it was incredibly easy to the point where it kind of became a bit boring. But today we're using a bat. Not that bat. This bat. Again, some discrepancies, but still. He's a dark and flying type with the ability Keen Eye. That's all you really need to know. I'll explain the moves as we get to them. Except his starting move, Bite. That's all he knows. He's a bat. Bat's Bite. And we immediately learn how the bat challenges differs from the goat one, as we didn't knock our rival out in one hit. For those who don't know, which I assume all of you, the goat had a very bad habit of knocking literally everything out in one hit to the point where it wasn't a challenge. Well, Tabat took 2 hits, so, you know, we'll take what we can get. In fact, the reason I chose to do a bat this time was because, well, it was another simple animal I can just kind of explain to you, but it was also because I kind of had a feeling it would be a lot more difficult, as the bat as a character has always been a speedy but frail type of character, so I thought that'd be fun to try against the quick and immediately powerful goat. And since we're on the topic of differences, let's see how Tabat works against the first gym. Now, even with the goat's pure power ability and extremely high attack, the Roxanne was an absolute bitch to go against. But the problem with the goat was that he only knew normal type moves. Now, despite Tabat having a weakness to rock types being flying, he still knows Bite, which isn't not very effective. But don't get me wrong, she was still an incredible bitch to face. And that's more to do with Tabat's just genuine frail nature, not so much as the fact that he wasn't doing damage. He was doing decent damage, he just had a bad habit of dying in like 1 or 2 hits to any rock related attack. But it wasn't a big deal, it was just a train kind of jobby. Just go back and fight all the trainers you missed, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't too much strategy other than just bite until you win. Although I'll happily admit, we did get some lucky crits and flinches. But that's going to be a pattern moving forward as well. But since we were slightly over-leveled with Roxanne, the rest of the game was a breeze. Except it really wasn't, because, well, there's not that many trainers you can fight between Roxanne and Brawly anyway, and Brawly kind of sucks. Now, the bat technically isn't weak to fighting, because he is part flying, but it certainly doesn't help. And the fact he only knows Bite, we're not doing a lot of damage dishing out, and because he's frail, he's dying very quickly. So, I kind of skipped Brawly for now. I realised you don't really need to beat Brawly anytime soon, so I just kind of left it and figured I'd move on. And I did move on, and, you know, most of the trainers were quite easy, and I thought a lot of them, because, well, Watson was the problem. For point of reference, on the GOAT playthrough, the quote-unquote top percentage playthrough, he kind of knocked the Electrode and Electrike out in 1 hit, and, well, we were struggling to take out just the Voltorb. And we're still at an early-ish point in the game where there's not too many options what we can take advantage of to beat him, so we basically just had to find any trainer within a 20-mile radius and kick the ever-loving crap out of them. At least while we were training, Tabat did learn Wing Attack, which would have made Brawly a breeze, but I wasn't going to go back anytime soon. It wasn't going to help with Watson either, so we still pretty much just had Bite on our side. However, Bite is not alone in this scenario. Now, I didn't really mention it with Gilly because, well, he didn't need them, but in Pokemon Emerald you can have held items. Now, I didn't really mention it either, but I'm not using, like, healing items in battle, otherwise it's not the character that's winning, it's my wallet, pretty much. However, held items are completely fine by me, and with Tabat, well, we kind of need them. Case in point, the Black Glasses. It powers up any and all Dark-type moves, which Tabat, very likey. So long story short, we trained Tabat up to level 30, and even then, his wins weren't exactly consistent. I also did an immense blunder. Now, Tabat can learn Screech, which lowers the opposite Pokemon's defense, but Tabat is a special attacker, so lowering their defense doesn't really help much, unless I'm using Wing Attack, granted, but to help with Bite, no. Either way, though, the Watson fight eventually became somewhat easy. It definitely relied on a lot of crits and flinches, which Bite can deal with a lovely handful out. The Electric and Voltorb were getting a bit, easy at this point, but I noticed Watson kept throwing his Magnetric out a lot sooner, and, well, lucky crit can always help with that, can't it? So, the biggest problem, though, was the Magneton. Steel, Electric against Dark and Flying. Keep in mind, Dark is still not very effective in this gen. The odds didn't look exactly in my favour, especially when I kind of realised the first 3 Pokemon I didn't take any damage with. I got incredibly lucky, but then I immediately get paralysed, which, Tabat's highest stat is speed. Paralysis kind of cripples him. And luckily, I got extremely lucky with the missing of, I think it was 2 Confuse Rays, and I prevailed. So, little luck, but I'll take it. And honestly, that was probably the hardest battle, at least we're going to face for a while, because most of the trainers aren't any hassle. I mean, I didn't need to fight most of them, because, well, Tabat was like 20 levels higher, so, especially with Max's Mightyena, but the Zubat was easy, and the Camerupt were immune to his Magnitude, so it wasn't too bad. And neither was Flannery, kind of. I mean, it wasn't an instant win. The normal and Slugma weren't too much of a problem, but the camera up, again, that was pretty easy the first time. The main thing what I was worrying about is Tarkle. Now, Tarkle's got a bad habit of overheating, recovering the stat drop, and then just overheating again, which, to that being very frail, isn't helping at all. I had to kind of hope for a lucky few flinches, but it didn't work immediately. The strategy wasn't 100%. Again, it's very luck-based. And that's definitely the biggest problem I've had so far with Tabat, is that he's very, at least the early game, he was very luck-based strategy-wise. It was very, to access the winning part of the battle, you had to rely on a lot of, can I flinch, can I get a crit? It was a lot more easy to get flinches because of bite, but it still wasn't 100%. But not being 100% doesn't mean not possible. And it was possible, and I did it. And to be honest, Norman was pretty much the same, with only about, I want to say like 2.7 more strategy involved. Obviously, since I forgot about Brawly, it cost me a bit of time running back. I'm not going to mention Brawly, it was just wing attack, wing attack, wing attack. But Norman wasn't as simple. Now, his first three Pokemon, the Vigoroth, the Spinder, and the Linoon, they weren't too much of a problem. It was obviously the slacking. But I had a very luck-based way of beating him. Since slacking has Truant, you can only move once every 2 turns, I kind of took advantage of that to try and bite and flinch him every time he did attack, and just screech on him every time he didn't, and eventually I would have just knocked him out with a wing attack. Again, a very immense luck-based strategy, but one we soon will forget about. Because pretty soon after this battle, Tabat will learn Crunch, which it won't replace Bite straight away, but it will eventually. And that's mainly because, well, I'm just kind of tired of the luck-based strategies, and although Crunch still has a bit of luck involved, it's just a more powerful move, and I'd rather take the special defense drop rather than just a flinch, especially when we're moving into the late game. So now we move on to Winona, and Winona was an odd one. It certainly wasn't easy, but it wasn't immensely hard. It was a bit awkward, I think is the best way to describe it, with Pelipper constantly spamming Protect, and just the Skarmory being a Skarmory, but of course, you get through it eventually. It was just, again, a lot of luck kind of involved. And then I'd die because of when I got to the Altaria, because, well, Altaria's actually pretty good, and the Skarmory kind of wilts me down too much, so I did have to grind a little bit. And I feel like that's Tabat's main issue. He's not leveling up immensely quick. I mean, he's getting over-leveled. I mean, he is still immensely over-leveled, but he's just not strong enough. He's got high speed and alright attack and special attack, but that's pretty much about it. I mean, he's got alright defenses, but they're certainly not winnable. But I ended up training him to level 43, so that's over 10 levels higher than most of the Pokemon, and even then, it wasn't an immediate win. Again, a lot of tomfoolery with Protects and Skarmories, but it's whatever, you know, you get past it eventually. You just gotta keep trying at it until eventually it has no choice but to let you win. And now we're on to the whole Team Aqua Magma shenanigans. Honestly, nothing too tricky. The Mightyena gave me a bit of trouble, but he spammed Sand Attack, but because of my keen eye, didn't do anything. I was immune to most Camelot's attacks, although I'm not immune to Takedown, and that takes me down. Although I did end up knocking out his Crobat in one critical hit, which, that's the second time in these 2 playthroughs where I've ended that Maxi battle with a very lucky critical hit, so I wonder how long we can keep that streak up. And then, after that, nothing important happened whatsoever until we got to the next gym. Now, I remember to only bring 1 HM Slave into the battle this time, and still it was incredibly easy, but I was a bit worried at first, because I thought their Lunatone and Solrock knew Rock Slide, which is bad news bad. But in reality, it was kind of a joke. I just let the Machop do Focus Energy until it died. The Claydol's so close to be a one-hit KO, I got really scared of it because I thought it also knew Rock Slide, but it knew Earthquake, which did literally nothing. Then the Xatu starts spamming things like Confuse Ray and Calm Mind. That's where I start to get worried. It was kind of a false worry. I mean, Confusion didn't help specifically, but it didn't do that much damage. I just kind of kept crunching on the Sun and Moon until the Sun and Moon weren't around anymore. Although that Xatu started beefing up immensely with like 20 Calm Minds, and that's when I started to get worried. Until I realised it actually can't attack me. The only moves it can use is Calm Mind and Sunny Day. Sunny Day not doing anything, Calm Mind just boosting its special defense and attack. So, Lunatone goes down in 2 easy crunches, whilst I just watch the Xatu sweat profusely and wonder how long it's going to take till it dies. Quick answer, 1 swift wing attack. And that was Titanizer. Again, a lot easier than I first expected. I mean, I was struggling Titanizer in my regular playthroughs, yet it's kind of a joke in solo runs, and I honestly don't know why. I thought Emerald was meant to be the hard version. I mean, Ruby and Sapphire weren't exactly cakewalks, but Emerald was meant to be the beefier one, yet here I am just beating it with a bat. I was actually planning to do these runs originally on Ruby, and could you imagine if I did? I would have beaten this game 20 times over already. But I digress immensely. I don't know why I'm rambling on about immensely small details, but frankly, I'm sure no one actually cares about. Hoi. So let's skip to something what people do care about. plot? Well, very little to say about this plot. You know, I blazed through all the Team Aqua and then I fought Archie. That was about it. I should mention whilst fighting him, Tabat learns Super Fang, which I thought it would have been incredibly good and useful, but honestly didn't end up helping that much. For those who don't know, Super Fang halves the Pokemon's HP, so I thought it would have been incredibly useful, but it honestly didn't end up working, and it's got low accuracy anyway, so it kind of ended up sucking. I mean, it had like 3 alright uses, I guess, but that was about it. So after watching Groudon and Kyogre have, honestly, a really boring dance-off. Also, Groudon just looks incredibly fat in that sprite. I'm snoozing right now, and Kyogre's got tiny little fins. I'm honestly just talking to myself out loud whilst the mic is on, whilst I'm looking at the footage here. But either way, we summon the Sky God, he turns the party off, and we start with Juan. Juan? Is he Mexican? Or did I just offend a hell of a lot of people? Well, actually, I probably didn't, because no one watches these videos. I can say what I want! I'm not going to, though, because I don't have any dignity, but by God, I've got my morals. I'm also saying now how Emerald's late game is incredibly stupid. With the 8th gym badge being a water type, having an ice type in the Elite Four, and then having the champion also water type. I mean, they share like 50% of the same Pokemon. And Sydney even has a Crawdon. It's like Emerald rather needed more Pokemon or more variety in their gyms. The only reason they probably did that is because, well, they didn't want Steven to be the main champion anymore, so they put Wallace up there for some reason, and, well, they still wanted to keep the incredibly designed ice puzzle. You know, you could have changed the ice at least to, like, leaves or spider webs and made it a bug gym, you know. Heracross and Pinsir are in this dex. Yeah, they didn't know that. I sure as hell didn't the first time I played through this game. Generation 3's got a very bad habit of not showing off that many Pokemon through their trainers. I mean, there's 200 Pokemon in this dex. You see about, what, like 12 on your average playthrough if you're not specifically looking? But I digress, yet again. After gracefully beating Juan, we move on to the Elite Four. And the Elite Four, oh boy, what a doozy. In short, I wasn't going to beat the Elite Four anytime soon. Sydney, like usual, was meh. He honestly was just luck-based whether you'd get past them or not. Phoebe was incredibly easy, just not even a second thought. Now, the problem was the 3rd Elite Four member, the Ice one. Bulky Ice types that won't die in one hit? Check. Hail? Check. Just Ice-type moves that will kill you instantly? Check-a-dick-a-ding-dong. All the things you didn't want to see in a run like this. Now, I stuck to the rules what I proposed last time where I'm beating the Elite Four all in one go because, well, it's just a better show of their strength in my opinion. I at least stuck to that. But that doesn't change literally anything about the 3rd member. There wasn't even much to really say or show here. I tried to fight it, I died. I tried to level up and try again, I died. The long and short of it was, I ended up training about 10 extra levels before actually getting close to winning. And by close, I mean, I get to see the wall rain before it just killed me in one hit. The hail damage, it just piled up too much, I wasn't lasting very long at all. I even ended up going back and picking up Toxic, thinking maybe I could try and stall it out, but I realised Tabat doesn't know any healing moves, and the hail was doing a lot more damage than Toxic would have ended up doing. And then it started getting annoying because every time I died to the 3rd member, I'd have to retry Sydney, and Sydney wasn't 100% going to win. I had to get lucky on whatever his guys' moves did, and it was awful. I'm also saying this now because I swear to God, I always forget about this, but I keep thinking it. I keep thinking Glalie an ice and dark type, but he's just a pure ice type, and I honestly don't know why I keep thinking that. I mean, look at him, he looks like an ice and dark type. I don't get why he isn't. I'm grateful that he isn't, else I couldn't have crunched him to death as easily, but still. So after an extra 3 hours in-game, I had to speed up, so it wasn't literally. I finally got a new strategy, not just for the 3rd member, but for Sydney as well. Now, since I can't exactly crunch Sydney because he's dark type and won't be effective, I had to use Wing Attack. But it didn't help because Wing Attack is physical, I immediately get a Physic Attack drop with his Mighty and his Intimidate, but luckily I have Screech. So I say strategy, it was also incredibly luck-based, it was just Screech whilst you can, and Wing Attack. Hopefully you can get a Swagger, which will raise your attack anyway. Hopefully you don't hit yourself in confusion, and you'll just sweep for this team like nothing. Phoebe, well, her only strategy was just keep crunching and you win anyway. But after Phoebe, that's when we get a little smart. See, when we beat Tate and Liza, they gave us Calm Mind, which is a move what Tabat can learn and can take full advantage of. Calm Mind raises both special defense and special attack, and considering Tabat is a special attacker, that's just the move we need. And luckily, since in the first turn, the 3rd member needs to set up Hail anyway, that gives me plenty of time to set up a Calm Mind and immediately just sweep for a team. It was incredibly easy after that. Although, to be fair, I am level like 70 at this point, so not too surprised, but I'm happy I finally found a way to beat her. And then Drake, I was a little worried about how to deal with him, but I just kind of jumped in it to see how it'd go, and I realised Sheldon will always go for Protect the first turn. So I'll Calm Mind the first turn, and the only problem with that is that means he can do Protect the next turn. That doesn't mean I can always just do another Calm Mind. So again, that turned out to be incredibly easy, surprisingly. I've very rarely actually used moves like Calm Mind, and I realised how genuinely useful they are now. And just like that, the Elite Four was done. All that was left was the champion. But not necessarily. As was the case in quite literally every other battle with Tabat, it's not 100%, it's a little luck based. Now, Whale Lord knows Rain Dance, which I was really hoping it would use the first turn, so I had plenty of time to set up a Calm Mind. Sadly, it doesn't. It goes for Water Spout, which, for those who don't know how it works, the more HP you have, the more damage Water Spout will do. And since I didn't attack the Whale Lord because I was Calm Minding, Water Spout did a hell of a lot of damage. Even with a Calm Mind boosting my special defense up. And even with a Calm Mind, I'm still not one-hitting all of Wallace's Pokemon. I kind of needed to set up another one. I was kind of hoping to get some of his Pokemon into healing up range, so once his heal, I get another one. It just wasn't working out. I lost. And I actually lost a fair few times against Wallace, and that's just because of how inconsistent the Whale Lord can be. And how bulky the Milotic was. The Milotic caused me a lot of trouble. But wouldn't you know it, I got lucky eventually. I set up a Calm Mind when the Rail Lord went for Rain Dance. I crunched it, didn't quite kill it, but he went for Water Spout, which did nothing, because he only had like 1 HP left. And I don't get why I didn't do another Calm Mind, because it was going to heal next turn anyway, but I just kept crunching it until I beat it. Incredible misjudgment of the Tentacle. I got incredibly confused, because I always thought Hydro Pump worked the same way Hyper Beam did, in the sense of, after they used it, they had to take a turn to recharge. So after Tentacruel hits me with the Hydro Pump, I used another Calm Mind, but it didn't recharge, and it hit me again. I got so scared, but luckily, since I had 2 Calm Minds at this point, Hydro Pump didn't do near enough damage. And that's pretty much all she wrote. I ended up beating the Milotic, the Wishcast, the Ludicolo, everything. Except the Gyarados, which had Intimidate, oh no! Except I'm a special attacker, does nothing. It's down. So, to answer the, at this point now, obvious question, can you beat Pokemon Emerald with just a bat? Not that bat. You can! Not the same way you can with a goat, though. The strategies are very different. Go figure. In fact, the goat was 10 levels below the bat when you beat it. But hey, at least we got a more interesting challenge out of it, you know? I'd much rather take different strategies and trying out different things rather than knocking everything out in one go, you know? It's boring if you can. So yeah, that was just a fun little challenge. Part 2 in, I'm not going to spoil how many more we got left, but it's quite a few. I hope you enjoyed, and whilst we're here, I might as well point out something. Since the first episode was so boring, and well, this one probably might be as well, 0% of you watching this are actually subscribed. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe, I'm going to carry on this series anyway, I thought that was a funny little thing. It's 2020 anyway, you know, it's way too much effort to press a button. I mean, nowadays you need to press like 17 buttons to subscribe fully anyway, so you don't need to do anything, you know, I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do, no matter what. Either way though, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your 24-hour day to watch this, however long video this is. It means a lot that you consider this worthy of your time. The end again. Have a nice day. See you soon.